Jennifer Williamson is a talented psychic medium. She's also from my hometown of Long Island, New York. I'm really excited about this conversation today because Jennifer is going to give us a reading on COVID-19. And I've also invited a really good friend of mine. It's going to be his first time getting a reading. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
All right, here we go. COVID-19. It's all over the news now. They're talking about it being on the rise. So let's hear your read and your predictions for this virus at the moment.
So COVID-19 is really difficult to predict because there are so many moving parts with it. When I first started doing readings and started looking at COVID-19, there was the government side, the people side, and then also the actual virus and what it was doing. And people don't know that when the virus has come over to the United States, it's actually mutated several times. And I do believe we are in for another mutation before it finally finishes up. People are, we're tired, we're stressed, we want it to be over, but we're not there yet. We probably have about another 18 months before we're completely in the free. But I will tell you that masks will be around for at least 5 years.
Wow.
Yes.
When you say 18 months, I mean, that's a little daunting to hear that. Maybe let's take it step by step.
So New York will have one prediction, California will have another prediction. So that makes it difficult to do a general prediction for overall. But I do believe that we are going to see increased numbers in through the end of the year, but it will not be as high as it was initially when we first started dealing with it. The middle of the country has a lot going on. I do believe that they will continue to rise as well as we go into the next 4 months, but they will also see a steady line and then a break off, which means that they will start to go down actually by December, which is a good thing. And then the western part of the country, which is where you guys are pretty steady at a high number. I do believe it takes you guys a little bit longer to have your numbers dip, but you will also start to see a dipping number as you go into the end of January, beginning of February, numbers that will actually start to be able to give the government and people a lot of the lifting of closures. That probably won't happen until almost February.
So even though COVID might be around for 18 months, you see some information coming through that event spaces of that sort might be opening as early as February. How does that?
Correct. Yes. Now, is that related to a vaccine? I don't believe so. I believe that the virus is running its course. I believe the interaction with the flu and other winter viruses, I actually believe that's where the next mutation comes from. And then it kind of hits a wall as far as being able to spread. So it is kind of interesting in how just letting the virus do what it's supposed to do, it will ultimately pan itself out.
And when you're receiving information like this about a virus, I understand it's hard to read, but what does that look like as a psychic when you're receiving information about something, especially something that's not just from a person's point of view, it's kind of like on a world stage? Can you explain that?
Actually, a very good question. When I was in college, it took me 3 times to pass statistics. I'm not really sure why. I had great teachers and a great math background, but for some reason, it just took me a little while. When I'm reading, I see my statistic numbers and the line going down, the line going up. And that is how the virus does look energetically. It's just a line. And when it's going up, that's when we're going to see increase. And when we're going down, that's when they're showing the decreased numbers. But it's interesting because it hits a wall and then that's where it starts to pan out. And that is by February of 2021.
Well, what about the lockdown that we had this past spring, right? So that was pretty severe and pretty intense. Do you foresee anything like that happening again?
Not worldwide and not in our country. Again, there will be counties and there will be certain states that will have to rise to a certain level close to that. But for the most part, I do believe that we are on a downward trend, even though I know that there are scientists and experts that are predicting as we go into the fall, we're going to see a rise. That is actually true, but it's not to the level of when it first started in March.
We're all awaiting a vaccine. right? So there are discussions about making this vaccine mandatory. What are your predictions on when the vaccine actually comes out?
So since September, I saw and still continue to see a viable vaccine in December of 2020. We will have one before the close of the year. However, it will not be available to everyone. It will only be available to the most endangered or susceptible communities. So it will take a very long time for the vaccine to actually be distributed throughout the entire country. It's kind of interesting because even though they do show a viable vaccine, I still think there's a lot about the virus that we don't know. And I think it's going to be hard to tag down. It probably will be the same percentage as the flu vaccine, where it has between 30 and 40% reliability.
Will that vaccine even be safe?
I do believe that by December of 2020, we will have a safe, guided by the CDC and the FDA, not so much government involvement as far as that is concerned, but a viable, safe vaccine. Yes.
And do you see an actual government mandate for this vaccine?
No.
Okay. Like saying, okay, everyone has to take this vaccine. You know, some large companies are talking about that too, making sure employees are vaccinated.
Right. Well, and that's the same where flu vaccines are available in a lot of the major companies. Some of them do offer services. They have nurses in-house. So I do believe that will be a part of the overall trying to make us better and trying to make us feel safe. But I believe when you look back at the history of vaccines, it has taken a long time for vaccines to actually become safe and for us to know all of the side effects. And I think that will be true for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Do you see any kind of backlash from the public on taking the vaccine? Because there are plenty of people who are anti-vaxxers and they don't want to take a vaccine. So what does that look like?
Right. And I believe that's actually why it will not be government mandated. Again, just like the flu, very similar to the flu population. The flu is definitely, they focus on certain areas, certain age groups. And I think the COVID-19 has proven to be very similar to those numbers.
So if we change our perspective and look at this through the idea of fate from like a spiritual perspective, taking logic out of the equation, why is this happening?
So I've spent a lot of time meditating on this and trying to figure out why did this happen? And one of the things that occurred to me during a reading was that the earth is fighting back. There is climate change. And I know there's a lot of climate change deniers out there. And especially when you put into factors about humidity and the belief that they believe this virus transfers through humidity, you can actually link those two together, that the states that have a problem trying to get this under control are the states that are directly impacted for all of us to see directly with climate change, more hurricanes, more tornadoes, more devastating, expensive storms. So I believe that the reason why that we're going through this in a spiritual manner is basically because the earth is a living thing and it is fighting back. And it is a living thing. Make no mistake about it, that it will fight for itself. Just in the first few months when we saw the shutdowns and the earth starting to come back and waters clearing and the air being a little bit more simplified, we saw that worked. So I believe the spiritual answer and maybe eventually the scientific answer, because one always does lead into the other, will be that the earth is fighting back.
I can tell you this. I mean, I live in LA and the smog just kind of disappeared, which is crazy to see that, because we are focusing a lot on all of the negative things that are happening with this virus. And I think it's important for us to think about the positive side. It's forcing us to be very introspective, right? Everybody's kind of taking this long pause, which I think is really needed. We're going so fast, so if we're thinking about how to evolve in our evolution as far as like the consciousness space, right, in the spiritual space, I think this is the time. This is the time to talk, to like come out of the closet about this kind of stuff. The people that are, find this engaging and important. I think it's finding a voice. I hope it is.
Yeah, it's a positive aspect that, will keep us going and will keep us seeing ourselves get through it and get to the end.
Any other information that you received that you want to kind of bring up right now?
So I think the idea that people seem to have an issue with wearing masks seems to be highlighted in my sessions when I'm reading with people. And just recently in a session, I received that we are going to have masks for at least 5 years, especially in the United States. Having the understanding that this is going to be with us for a while, then we can settle into it and then focus on what really matters. How to help our Main Street, how to help our elderly people that are not able to go safely to the grocery store. It just will focus us on more of a productive society rather than having issues with masks.
So it's a little daunting, but it's good to hear this stuff so we can kind of prepare mentally for that, right?
Yes, COVID is probably one of the most challenging channeling I've done recently, but there is a positive result that comes out of it. There is an end result. We are certainly better than this and better than allowing it to implode on us. And I do think that we will see it through to the end and find a solution that works for everybody.
Let's switch gears a little bit. I think you should see Jennifer in action and how she approaches reading an individual. I've invited my dear friend, Eric. He's really excited. This is his first official reading. Here we go. Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Jennifer, meet Eric. Eric, Jennifer.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so I am going to leave you guys to it. So enjoy.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
I will admit I'm a little anxious in a good way. As you may know, it's one of my first official readings, and I have been anticipating this for a few days now. So I'm looking forward to just talking to you.
Okay, and I also had it on my schedule. So sometimes things come in earlier. I sometimes get information for clients prior to the sessions. And I'm actually just going to start with that because they do show an older man that is passed that I want to bring in for you. And it's either like a father or a grandfather figure. He only showed from like the waist down. So there was probably something that he had a problem with in that area, but he was dressed very neatly, very mid-size weight, not overweight, very much athletic. I think also in the way he was built. So again, an older male energy, almost like a carbon copy of you, just older.
So it's definitely my mother's father. His name is Emilio. He's
so let me get some more information on this.
Yeah.
It shows me the belly or the lower half of the body. This is where problems went wrong.
So he died of pancreatic cancer.
Okay. And he's very well dressed, very neat.
To the nines.
Yeah. But I actually think it's kind of tough. I mean, this is a sad passing because he shows me athletic. He shows me doing, well for himself in healthy, tried to do things. And this is what takes me. He's also very attitude. He was very impatient. He wanted to
that's exactly who he is.
Like not wanting to wait or be patient at all. So when he came in here, it was like, all right, I'm on, enough with that, let's go.
You described him to a T. In fact, that was his blessing and his curse. In a good way, the curse is the positive curse because he was so, to your point of him being athletic, he was the strongest, toughest man. He worked in a factory. He dug dishes in his backyard, and he never wanted anything outside of his own hands.
Also, very much soft, even in his way.
Loving. Like
very,
so. In our language, we say cariñoso, which is cariño with love.
Right.
And he was that, and I really, it's one of those things that he had. It was tough love, to be
Yeah.
honest.
But he had a very tough passing, and I even feel him like when he does pass away and wakes up on the other side, he's like, crap, like he just had a hard time with the idea that he did everything right and still ended up, having to deal with what he dealt with. But he does show up very much around you, very much in your life, just as much as, before he passed. Shows the message of you are the favorite in the family, or you were favored.
Yes, that's true.
Rightly or wrongly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And, wanting to acknowledge that. The grandfather is talking about your car. He likes your car. It's not.
Yeah, my grandfather loves cars.
But it's not what he would have driven. You understand that, right?
Right.
Like whatever you drive is too fancy for him, but he admires you for it. He's very proud of you for what you've accomplished. And he does show the message of helping you and guiding you. But sometimes you just have to trust yourself and know, get the answers and the intuition from yourself. A lot of times it's just patience, but he does show the message of supporting you.
Hi.
Eric, how was that?
It was incredible. It was good. It was, you don't know what's going to happen and who's going to come through, and you think about that.
Were you surprised at the way Jennifer was able to kind of pull these ancestors through?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there was certain parts where it was like the car, my grandfather, to, having his little quirks and, the things like to the T. But I didn't even think about how similar we were until you brought it out. So yes, it was very,
Oh no.
Oh.
Did we lose him?
Okay, well, yeah, that was really, really interesting. I appreciate watching that, and hopefully other people will as well.
Thank you so much for putting this together. I really had fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. I had fun too. Thank you for watching. I hope some of this information was helpful. Check out thethetawave.com. Write me your questions. I'm going to have Jennifer back on along with some other interesting guests coming soon.